Welcome listeners to your next episode, and it's the continuation of Michi's journey and the conclusion of the lost chapter. I hope your day has been awesome and full of fun, and hopefully just about to get even better. But before we jump headlong into the world of yokai and magic, I need to thank my fantastic supporters. And before I hop into those shoutouts, there is one shoutout that I've been meaning to specifically do, and have forgotten. It's for Wee Woo. Mate, from both myself and Jayce York, a big thank you for providing input on the Tellteller episode, which was episode 155. You see, Wee Woo provided Jayce York the idea that the story's main monster should be a skinwalker. I didn't mention it on that episode, but Wee Woo was the inspiration for that one. So thank you so much for that, mate. Now for shoutouts. Troy Shaw, mate, as always for the skip spotting and your support with this channel. It's like having a quality control watchman. I really do appreciate you pointing the skips out. It genuinely helps keep this channel's content consistent. Cheers, mate. Jayce York, thank you for your fantastic stories, constant support, and interactions with the listeners. Your support is just fantastic, and I can't wait to work on more of your stories. Cheers, buddy. Kyle Brant, it's always a pleasure narrating your stories, and thank you so much for your constant channel support. I'm looking forward to more of your yokai stories, plus any of the detective stories you have in the works. Just fantastic. Cheers, mate. I Own Cows, thank you, mate, for your recent story on this channel. Episode 153, The Cleaner, blew my socks off. I really enjoyed that one, and thank you for your constant support on this channel, and especially your comments. Cheers, mate. Star Eve 2099, thank you so much for your lovely support. I always enjoy hopping on here and reading your input on an episode. What you would do in a situation or what you would be in that universe. It's always great to chat. Thanks, mate. Katie Sturgill. Mate, so great to see you on here, and thank you for your support. You're awesome. The Mad Catter. Check out his channel, Twisted Tea Time. Such a great actor. Listening to him helps you really understand the passion that people have when narrating. Cheers for your support, mate. Check out his channel, called The Mad Catter, or Twisted Tea Time is where you'll find him. More Noir, thank you so much for your support, mate. Megan Jones, thank you for your support. Savannah Tyler, thank you for listening. And some recent follows I'd like to thank just for joining the channel. We've got user 45785891. If you ever do change your name from digits to a title, let me know and I'll thank you again. We Share the Love, That Damn Drunk, Taito Geronimo, Betty Forst, and Sharon J.R. Holmberg. Okay, you lovely listeners, let's do this. Turn the lights off, the sound up, and get ready for something different. Part 2 of Michi's Journey, The Lost Chapter. While the Tellteller and Michi stood 15 yards from each other, the Tellteller said,
Like I said, you rely too much on your magic. You need to rely on your instincts and your training in hand-to-hand combat. For instance,
the Tellteller then struck his blade in the ground and said,
Come at me with your sword.
Michi then pulled out his sword and charged, but when he swung down, the Tellteller simply moved out of the way and smacked the back of Michi's head.
Again,
he said. Whilst the Tellteller didn't know any magic, he was vastly superior in hand-to-hand combat. And so, the training began. The Tellteller taught Michi karate, North Shaolin Kung Fu, Hung-Gar Kung Fu, and even taught him some fencing with his sword. Michi's never encountered such intense training before, but he can tell already he's improved. Morning fell, and Michi began to feel like he had learned a lifetime of fighting styles in just a matter of hours. Let's head to the village to get some sleep, before we have to take on the Kosenjorbi, Michi suggested.
I don't sleep, but you can sleep if you need it,
the Tellteller said bluntly. Michi decided to fill the walk with some information, to fill the Tellteller in. Kosenjorbi weren't active when the spring was flowing because the water extinguished the flames as they rose from the ground. Most of them are just looking for their missing pieces, but a lot of them continue to fight even after death. The Tellteller thinks for a moment, before saying,
It's kind of like a Heshorn. It's a reanimated corpse, looking for its killer rather than a missing part of itself.
Michi smiled. Huh, I've never heard of this kind of monster. I hope I don't run into one. They arrived at the village's inn and settled down for the day.
Get some rest. They may be weak, but from what you can tell me, they are great in number.
With that warning, Michi retired to his room to get the much-needed rest. The taleteller went back to his room and simply waits for nightfall, meditating and thinking on the events that have just passed. As night fell on the village once again, the taleteller and Michi were ready to do battle with the Kosenjorbi. Michi set the pace as they made the journey to the dried spring. Upon arrival, the two noticed that a couple of fire orbs had already popped up. Let's get to work. There are hundreds of these things to take down. Michi rushed in, slicing an orb diagonally. The taleteller pulled out a gun and proceeded to shoot each of the orbs one by one. Michi leapt from one orb to the next, slicing them through. He then threw a handful of talismans in every direction, one after the other, attaching to the orbs and exploding, extinguishing the fires. Michi continued his assault with his sword and talismans, as well as capturing up to 5 in separate Yokais and using the 9 cuts to dispel them. The thundering booms of the Glock 40 made Michi's ears ring, and was making Michi honestly terrified of the thing. Why hadn't he used that in their fight? He would have had the upper hand, he thought to himself. After running out of bullets, the taleteller pulled out his blade and began slicing through them one by one. As their assault continued, Michi realized these weren't ordinary demon fire orbs, as his clothes were singed. Normally, Kosenjorbi can't harm humans. That's when he heard a whistle and saw a man standing on the high ground. The orbs began migrating towards him. What is happening? Michi asked as all the fire enveloped this other entity. As the orbs gathered, they took on a new shape, that of a 50-foot soldier with 4 faces and 8 arms. The taleteller simply said,
Well, damn.
That's a Atsumata Kosenjorbi, Michi said, before he fell back a bit, watching the giant. That's why they were able to fight back a bit. When a stronger, more malevolent spirit is introduced to the group, it can make them into an Atsumata Kosenjorbi, a demigod of vengeance. The taleteller stated once more,
Well, damn.
Michi continued, If we defeat them, this might open a rip to wherever you're from, and you can get back home. Michi looked over to his new comrade. You up for killing a demigod? The taleteller replied,
Well, I've killed scarier things, so yes.
Michi dodged one of the arms as it tried to squash him like an insect was to a man. That's when Michi took his chance. He leapt up on its arm and began running up it. As he made his way up the arm, the hand of one of the other arms came swatting in at him, and with a quick flourish, the taleteller leapt up and sliced off the hand of the giant. Michi breathed a sigh of relief, and he continued towards the head. The taleteller pulled out his pistol and changed his clips before shooting at the eyes of the beast, allowing Michi to climb up it without having a chance to attack him. Michi reached the head and drove his katana deep into the other eye of the beast. Take that! He shouted before the yokai shook its head from side to side, throwing Michi into the air. Kick! He yelled as he trapped himself in a Yokai to stop himself from falling. Kick! This time, making a platform below him to stand on. Hey, taleteller, keep him distracted for about 3 minutes, he yelled to his partner, and began his mantra, his whole body enveloped in a dull blue light. On that cue, the taleteller throws an exploding potion at the giant's face. As it blows up, the creature's attention is brought to him, giving Michi time to chant. As he began finishing off half the mantra, 3 symbols appeared below the giant, glowing with that same dull blue light. At this point, the taleteller had run out of potions, but he was determined to keep distracting the beast by cutting the giant's legs, feet, and body wherever he could strike. Michi opened his eyes and made a couple hand gestures before grabbing a handful of salt and tossing it at the giant. Jaku mi naru. The beast opened its mouth and Michi dove in head first. With the symbols that had appeared under the monster beginning to glow with an intense light, each symbol had a different color this time: red, blue, green, brown, white, and black. The spirit began to lose its light blue color and slowly started to disintegrate, when 6 large poles came slamming down, followed by 3 horizontal pillars that laid across them.
Aita.
Michi muttered, and in the center where the empty space was between the poles, there was a glow, and on the other side, the telltale could see his world, the world where he came from. Michi emerged from behind the gate. Well, I was able to use the demigod's power to open a portal back to your world, he said nonchalantly. Best of luck to you in your future travels. The telltale reached out to shake his hand, gesturing for Michi to do the same. And after showing Michi what a handshake is,
I may need your help one day. Hopefully, I'll be able to find you. But until then, farewell for now.
Michi grimaced as he waved goodbye to his new friend. I look forward to working with you again. The telltale jumped back into the portal, back to his time, back to his life. Upon one last glance at Michi, he could see a small tendril not unlike his own, waving from behind Michi's back. Michi closed the portal and began salting the grounds, as well as pouring sacred oil before lighting it ablaze and praying in front of the fire. As day broke, he returned to the village and informed them that their nights should stay quiet from now on, and began his journey back to his temple. And this concludes Michi's journey, the lost chapter. Before I jump into the author notes, a special thank you to Kyle Brant and Jayce York, who provided me this story, an original, which I am absolutely blown away by. I really hope both of you collaborate again, because I can tell when these two talents collide, great stories are written. So thank you both once again. Okay, author's notes. So this is written by Kyle Brant, from Kyle Brant's perspective. Kyle Brant. This was especially fun to work with Jayce on this story. I loved working with him and bouncing ideas off one another. I am a fan of the enemy who becomes a friend story. For example, Goku and Vegeta, Saitama and Genos. This is canonical in my universe. For Michi being my only protagonist does not get to experience this, as it is a lost chapter. Who knows? Maybe the telltale found the book and removed the chapter himself. I dropped a pretty big bomb in the story development, as the spiritual taint that Michi has been gaining is revealed to be the ability to mimic special moves or skills from the yokai he has defeated. Aha, that's really nifty, Kyle. That explains that when he said bye to the telltale saw a tendril like his own waving back at him. Very, very nice Easter egg, Kyle. And as this chapter takes place further in the future, he has learned to control it at this time. Is the taint the same for the second protagonist of Michi's journey? Stay tuned to find out. We also have some spell notes. Jaku ni naru, begone evil. Used to just add insult to injury with the salt. Aita, open, a triggering phase for the 3-gate spell. And the 3-gate spell is a spell that calls down the 3 gates of heaven, time, and the underworld. Can only be used with an immense amount of spiritual energy, more than any one human can produce, usually done as a collaboration of at least 10 monks who are sacrificed. Michi has certainly come quite a long way. Monster notes. Kosenjorbi translates to ancient battlefield fire. Kosenjorbi are a type of onibi, or demon fire. They gather in places where bloody battles have been fought. Kosenjorbi appear as countless orbs of flame, which float about aimlessly through the air. They are formed from the blood of the countless warriors and animals which died in battle and never passed on to nirvana. The blood soaks into the earth and rises up into the air at night. It creates fiery shapes. Kosenjorbi occasionally take on the form of wounded warriors and animals. These phantoms search for their missing body parts or just wander forlornly across the battlefield. Though eerie to look at, Kosenjorbi do not harm the living. And our last author note is Atsumata Kosenjorbi, gathered ancient battlefield fire. This is a creation of Jayce and my own. It is when one stronger entity in the battlefield gathers all the spirits to utilize for themselves, becoming a demigod, reminiscent of an asura. The figure gains 8 arms and 4 faces, usually towering above all opponents. Its weakness is the eyes. As if damaged, the gathered souls constantly spill out of that weakened spot. And that concludes the author's notes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lost chapter of Michi's journey. the insights from the author, and the collaborative work of both Carl Brant and Jayce York. Stay tuned this week for even more stories that I can't wait to bring to your awesome ears. And if you're still listening this far, thanks. And if you know anyone at all that enjoys stories, or even if you think, nah, that person wouldn't like it, firstly, give it a shot. You might be surprised. And secondly, you might be showing that person something that will lead them onto a new path of entertainment. And also, I'm so impressed at listeners sending in their stories of late. Seriously, for all of you out there sending stories in, you are inspiring others to do the same. I have emails of people telling me that the story sent by X author has got them wanting to pick up writing for the very first time, and that is fantastic. So even you listeners out there are playing a part by sharing, subscribing, and letting others know about this channel. You too are inspiring others out there to write. That is just great. And on that note, it's that time. This is the place where stories live, and you tale-tellers come to listen. Enjoy your day or night, and join me every weekday for our creepy tradition. And as always, till next time.